Welcome to Kellie's News You Can Use, a podcast dedicated to healthcare information. Hello, and welcome to Kellie's News You Can Use. Today, we sit down with Jeremy Gelbert, founder and CEO of Beeper MD.
And one of many reasons I'm really excited to have him join us today is because we've been working behind the scenes with Jen Stevens and Michael Sue to get them on our campus to help support our residents and I think also our staff. And we can talk about that a little bit later. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jeremy.
Thank you, Kelly. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So I want to first ask, you shared with me that you started the company in 2021 in the midst of the pandemic. And I want to ask, did you start it because of the pandemic or did you have this plan and the pandemic happened?
That's a great question. We actually started Beeper MD about a year into the pandemic. And one of the reasons is because, look, I have 4 young children and the school was constantly getting closed because of somebody had COVID. And we saw, me and my partner, we saw that there was a need to do COVID testing and ramp that up and offer that in the home. And when that led to, there was a very, very strong demand just to do on-demand at-home COVID testing. And we saw as we were doing that, just like really as to help the community. That was the whole purpose. It wasn't a business at that time, but we saw there was such a strong demand for at-home healthcare because we developed it into an on-demand at-home urgent care. It's just like you would expect anything to be delivered to your home, we created a whole system in the pandemic out of a need and to help the community to bring that on-demand care throughout Florida. So
that's fantastic. So you are in every county in Florida, or there are specific cities and areas that you're in?
So we're in all of South Florida, meaning Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, all up the coast. And we're also in Central Florida, like Orlando and like the greater Orlando area, as well as Tampa and the greater Tampa area. One of the things is that we realized that obviously this is something that is it's not just our local communities that needed it during COVID, but we realized it was for everybody, and we see the impacts of being able to help people when they need it, whenever they need it.
Well, I think that's fantastic. So we talked also a little bit about, you have various levels of clinicians that people will get when they make the phone call that I think I need, either I don't feel well, I may need a COVID test, in urgent care, basically, that comes to your home, which we should first really start. So let's back up a little bit and talk about that. So you are an urgent care in a primary care that allows a service to go into somebody's home, correct?
Yeah, correct. Anytime, day or night, weekend, weekday, holidays, you could, anybody could go ahead and make an appointment with Beeper MD, either by phone or on our website, which is beepermd.com, and they could request that a practitioner come to their home, either as an urgent care visit or a primary care visit, sick or well visits, and they could do that by calling up. And also, actually, we created a special pathway, I guess, right, for the John Knox Village, residents, where when they call up on the phone, they could mention, we have a special phone number that we created, which I'll say now, it's 954-282-8016, and when you call that number, our customer service will automatically recognize that this is a resident of John Knox Village and be able to route things on more speedily, right? And because we're familiar with the community, and so you could do it on the phone or you could do it on the website, and you could also when you're booking an appointment on the website, you could use we basically call it a group code, which is JKV, and that helps identify that you're a resident of John Knox Village. and that will help, quicken the process. And once you book an appointment, a practitioner could come in as little as an hour to your house. And that's for a sick visit. Annual wellness visits, that should be scheduled 3 days at least in advance, to make sure you have eligibility and things like that. But um, even if it's Friday night at 8 o'clock and you feel like your throat is getting a little sore and you might want to get some prescription before the next day, we'll send a practitioner. They come with a whole suite of rapid testing, including COVID, strep, UTI, RSV, flu, and as well, and they could and they could actually diagnose the illness on site, and then order, if needed, any prescription that's done. And it's something that you really experience, and once you experience it, you see how different it is with the technology that we use. And what we do is we have a nurse that goes to the house, and when they have the testing, they also have a stethoscope, an otoscope, and what we call is an enhanced telemedicine visit. So what they're able to do is, using live real-time transmission of your like, they put the nurse put the stethoscope to your chest and your lungs and your heart, and then they pull up a live visit with a nurse practitioner or a physician that's remote, and they could actually, from one of our offices or from their home, they could listen and hear what's going on with the patient. So it's very cool, and it's and besides the fact, you get the care you would have in an office on your couch.
Which is very nice. So what you're sharing is if someone calls, they shouldn't expect that the physician themselves is going to be knocking on their door and coming in, but will be supporting the clinicians coming to the home visit.
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
yeah, that is how we make sure that you get care really fast, any time of day, and make things efficient. And one of the things is that we're um, the like, when it comes to cost or the price of the service, it is a concierge service, really is, but all at the same cost that one would expect if you walked into a regular urgent care clinic or your
Mhm.
doctor's office. Whatever your copay is, that's the same copay with Beeper MD. If deductibles or anything like that, and there's no no surprise fees that you might think with this type of concierge service.
Perfect. So I want to clarify that. So it
Sure.
is the same as if someone were to walk into an MD Now or another urgent care. Whatever their insurance covers and that urgent care visit would be the same coverage they would get by calling Beeper MD.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah.
whatever that
And
urgent care visit is.
one of the things that over the past, even we still only, we started in 2020, it's almost 5 years. We've seen hundreds of thousands of patients in that time. And with that experience, we've really perfected, all, making sure we get to the appointments on time within the window that's expected. Making sure that people are comfortable with the service, and everything that you might expect. Even, let's say you have an appointment and you might need a referral to a different type of service. We have a team that will help understand what providers are covered in network with your insurance. Like, if you need, let's say, I don't know, some sort of an X-ray or a ultrasound or something like that, we'll make sure through our referrals team that it's covered, and that we could even schedule you if needed, and if you'd like, and set that up all for you. So it's a really hands-on process.
Wonderful. So with that being said, you're talking about x-rays. You can do x-rays. Can you draw blood, urine for labs? Are those some of the other services you are capable of doing when you go to see somebody in their home?
That's a great question. So we're able to do like there are certain rapid tests that could be done, on site and get resulted on site. When if there is for our patients that are part of our primary care patients, we offer the ability to take your labs at home. So
Okay.
let's say for an annual wellness visit, or for checking up to make sure that everything is functioning properly, if you're on certain medications that might need regular blood work, then for patients that are part of our primary care, we offer the at-home lab work as well.
Okay.
And that would include anything, whether it's any type of specimen collection or blood tests or anything like that.
So I want to clarify for everyone that if they call as an urgent care, that service is not necessarily provided to them. And that this is for the wellness visits and the annual visits. That's your part of your concierge service for your regular patients.
Yes, meaning like we don't actually it's a good point to clarify, is that if let's say you took an urgent care visit and then you needed blood work as well, we would do the blood work for that, right? But if you have a lab order from another physician, that's when we don't do the lab work.
Right.
It's because it gets complicated. Look, and it's much easier when we are, doing the ordering and the administration itself.
Okay, great. So I'm glad you clarified that. So I want to reiterate also that what I love is that between myself, Jen Stevens, Michael Sue, and you have provided us with a specific phone number that residents can call. And when that phone number is used, the intake person will know that that's a JKV resident that's calling. And if they go online and put the code JKV, then that alerts to let them know that this is a resident that lives at John Knox Village in Pompano, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. And I know Michael has been working with you and your team already, and sometimes we'll do those for the residents. And I want to reiterate to residents, if you're going through Michael Sue to do that, you can continue to do that, and Michael can do the steps for you with Beeper MD. The other thing I want to talk about, Jeremy, is we've spoken before, and what we're looking in the future is to have you or some of your team members to come out and do presentations to our residents, correct?
Yeah, we would be more than happy to come and, walk people through the process and explain what we could do, and if there's any questions that come up as well.
Wonderful.
To assist.
So going back to, if somebody is thinking they need to go to an urgent care for some minor situation, instead of getting in their car and going to an urgent care, they can call now with an extra level, which we truly appreciate, of our own designated phone number, which I think is helpful. It's a great additional service for our residents to know that, and we really appreciate that. Are there any other things that you want to share? Your staff, how many people do you have? But that's one of the questions residents come. We have 1,100 residents. So, are you able to service, not that all of them are going to call at the same time, but
Right.
kind of give us a picture of what your staff looks like in the Pompano area that really can support that we can be out there in an hour, we can be out there in 3 hours.
On any given day, we probably have, between 5 and 10 roaming nurses that are servicing like the area around Pompano Beach and the greater South Florida area. But our overall team is probably near 200 people.
Wow.
So it's a large organization. And the other thing is that's actually really important is that we have the nurses in the field and the practitioners in the field. We also have a large team of practitioners as well, like nurses, practitioners. We have a lot of oversight as well from our physicians and our medical. We have 2 medical directors as well that are constantly reviewing, making sure that everything is provided to the top clinical standards, right? And always making sure being on top of new ways to treat different issues to make things quicker and faster. And it's really important because it's about a lot of times healthcare making things easier and more convenient leads to better results, right? When it's something's hard to do and you push it off, it could lead to more things, additional risks. And, that's the things that we're trying to avoid, making it so easy and accessible to have care. I think one of the other points that that is important for people to know when, booking with Beeper MD is that we make the booking appointment process as easy and as minimal as possible, so you don't have to fill out a ton of paperwork before the appointment, right? So what happens is, like, when you're booking either online or on the phone, you really just need to put your name, date of birth, and email and phone number and like the address, right? But we don't ask you to upload your insurance card or fill out like a lot of documentation before the appointment is booked, and we keep it minimal. And once the appointment is booked, we already have somebody on the way to your residence, so that makes things much quicker. Then once it's booked, then we start, then we'll send you like a questionnaire or an intake form, which you can do via email before the practitioner gets to you, or you could wait and the nurse in the house will work on it together with you. Because the idea is I want to keep things as simple and easy as possible and not too overwhelming. Because we all hate before appointments, you're filling out tons of things before you even get to see the doctor. But anyway, yes.
Perfect. So I want to clarify. I would say about 80 to 85% of our residents have straight traditional Medicare. So you accept Medicare, and then you also accept a lot of other Medicare Advantage plans.
Yes, absolutely. We accept nearly all Medicare Advantage plans, supplemental plans as well.
Okay, that's good to know. So any other things that you want to add? I think this is a great service. We're going to look forward to having you on campus. I did have one other question. Can you share with us your two medical directors?
Yeah, sure. The medical directors, one of our medical director is Dr. Jesse Gluck. He's an ER physician, helps us on our clinical oversight, as well as Dr. Joel Wolf, who is a trained actually interventional radiologist as well.
Wonderful. So I appreciate the time today. Like I said, these podcasts are short and sweet. And if there's any other questions, we are going to see you on campus soon. We'll make arrangements for some presentations to be done. I thank you so much for your time today, Jeremy, and have a great day.
Thank you, Kelly.